joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. We have not spoken to him in quite some time. He's worked out all of his audio issues. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only host of Green Light with Chris Long podcast, host Chris Long. Good to see you. Hey. What's up, Chris?
Rich, what's up? I should have been in the NBA. That would have been cool. Well, I mean, how much money they're making. Desmond Bain, how much did they give up for Desmond Bain?
They gave up two really good players and 4 first-round picks, Chris.
Golly, good for him. Good for all of those guys.
I mean, you were a big free agent splash back in the day, right, Chris? Weren't you?
Not really. I stayed home. I signed a big deal at home, without really testing the waters. And then I signed like tiny deals late in my career, relatively speaking. But yeah, no, we did fine. It's just making that kind of money to shoot a jump shot. Like, that's good stuff.
Is this a mustache you're growing? What's happening?
I don't know if I would call it an aggressive kind of mustache deal, but it's one of those 5 o'clock shadow with a little bit more on the upper lip.
That's right. Dude, back in the day, I tried once to wear a goatee on SportsCenter.
How'd you do? Do we have a picture?
We don't, because it was one and done. It was one and done because the makeup artist had to draw on the connecting parts on my face. From the
Let's see if I can find it.
There's no way. There's no way you'll find it. It does not exist. I did it once. I got voicemail messages. That's how long ago it was. It wasn't texts. Voicemail messages saying that somebody said that I had S all over my face on SportsCenter tonight. What happened?
Somebody called you on a landline to tell you when to
get look. That is correct.
Yeah.
Or hit my pager.
Yeah, you had to call from a payphone.
Yes, an SMS on my BlackBerry. All right. Speaking of old school, how's that for a transition? Here we go. Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler, Chris. How's this going to work out? What do you think? What's your 2 cents?
I think it'll be fun. Fun for the viewer, right? Like a lot more fun than watching, and certainly no shade, but the next installment of a Mason Rudolph type. There were moments last year where I thought Rodgers' arm looked really live, but there were a lot more moments where I wasn't sure how mobile he was. And obviously, people forecast for a player being better off 2 years removed from that Achilles. And usually that's the case, right? And the stats the last 5-6 games of the season that might give people some hope, but I do think that's fool's gold a little bit. The problem with doing the whole forecasting on him turning a corner is you don't usually see guys coming off Achilles at this age. So I don't know what he's going to be like physically. If you were to tell me, hey, I think this is an upgrade over Russell Wilson, I wouldn't say I know that for sure. But if it is, how big of an upgrade? Because we always talk about quarterback purgatory. And we talk about, the being in that zone of winning 10 games in the AFC right now. That's not really a zone where you're going to find the future of your franchise the very next year. Now, they have a lot of draft capital in 2 years, or next year in the draft. And that's probably where they want to go find their quarterback of the future. But what happens if they win 12, 13 games? I don't think this is a Super Bowl roster. And I don't think that's a hot take to say. You look at the offense, they're going to have to score. In the AFC, you got to score. You got to score with Buffalo. You have to score with Cincinnati. Certainly, that's about all they can do right now. Kansas City, they'll play some lower scoring games in the playoffs at times. But all things considered, you have to outscore these quarterbacks. In Baltimore, I didn't even mention. So, in the AFC, it's a tough road to go thinking, hey, we're going to play complementary football and get it done with a 41, 42-year-old quarterback. And nothing's guaranteed when it comes to his health. I don't know, the marriage with Arthur Smith, you figure you're going to see some play action pass. How do they get into those looks? Can he pull off the footwork that's necessary to do that kind of stuff? I don't know. We'll see. But I worry that they'll just end up in QB purgatory again.
That would be something. I mean, in terms of, Russ is the best that they looked last year, right, was the Russ Moonball type shots. And if you wanted to say what Rodgers is expert at for sure over the years, you'd say he throws an even deeper, moonshot type of of accurate ball, or at least in the past. And now here's DK Metcalf. I'm trying to find the positives here. You know what I mean?
Here's a positive. I mean, he still throws a back shoulder like
nobody else.
It's like a work of art. I mean, really is. Now, you talk about like being on the same page and all that. When he was in New York, we had the whole, you know, and I'm not taking a shot, but I don't love seeing stuff that should be worked out in the locker room, worked out, you know, on podcasts and that sort of thing, like internally, like, hey, this guy didn't run his route, you know, yada yada yada. Like, Metcalf has not always been the most surgical route runner. And you talk about, like, if we end up in a situation where somebody's not on the right side of the red line, infamously, like, I could see some stuff like that happening and the growing pains being tough. I don't think they have a bunch of firepower outside. I think DK's a hell of a player. But if Rodgers wants it done his way, they're really going to have to get on the same page from a timing standpoint. Like, so much of what Rodgers has done lately has been quick game. And when it comes to those throws outside the numbers, like, they really have to be on the same page. And so certainly I think time spent from here on out in the building is going to be huge. And that was an issue last year in New York a little bit. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to pour, you know, cold water on the whole thing, because if I'm on the Steelers, I want to go sign a quarterback. I'm a football player. If I'm TJ Watt, this is what I want. I don't have time to wait around for us to find the guy after a year of, you know, unintentional tanking, you know, passive tanking, because we don't have an option at quarterback. Like, if I'm a Steelers fan, like, I probably want us to find the future. If I'm a player, I want to win right now, and, you know, I'll worry about quarterback purgatory later.
And I guess another thing TJ Watt would like is Myles Garrett's annual salary, right? Like, I mean, like, that's what he's looking for right now. Not being at mandatory minicamp, which is definitely not usually his MO. Trey Hendrickson also turning 31 this year. He'd like some money. What would be your counsel to these 30-somethings who rush the passer, or maybe have one last bite at a contractual apple in there?
Well, especially because you do have one last bite. You know, for Trey, I'd say, hey, hold out until the cows come home. I mean, you deserve it. You led the league in sacks. You know, I think sometimes with Trey, his name gets in the way, where, like, you start your career as one thing, and then, you know, people can't get used to what you turn into. And I think there's a bias there implicitly. And I also think part of it is playing for Cincinnati, which is obviously is a topic we're going to hit. But I do think for Trey, you got all the leverage in the world. Like, hey, your rookie first round pick is holding out as we speak. So, like, what do you got? You got Osai and Murphy outside. I don't think Murphy had a sack last year, and Osai has not turned into the guy that they probably hoped he would have. Now, these aren't bad players, but you need somebody outside to go hunt, and especially coming in an off season where you're like, hey, the defense was a huge problem last year, and you know, this is what you got to deal with in minicamp, is because of the language in the rookie contract. We're in this situation, and our stud defensive end, all-world guy, is holding out. So they both have a lot of leverage. And for TJ, I mean, I'm not as familiar with his situation contractually, but I will tell you this, like, TJ Watt's supposed to retire a Steeler. And, you know, he's just one of those iconic players that, to me, and this is a Joe fan take, like, that number 90 right there in black and yellow, to me, that's how he's supposed to come in, and that's how he's supposed to go out. And it'd be a real shame if he wasn't able to go out a Steeler because he didn't get paid what he was deserved to be paid. And I think at this level, like, nowadays, guys in their 30s can really rush into their mid-30s because, you know, the game's a little bit easier on the body, and people are taking care of the players. I mean, the newer CBAs don't demand as much on the body, and if you know what you're doing late in your career, like, you can survive that way. And so I project success for these guys as rushers, you know, maybe more so than I would have 15 years ago, if you're looking at a 31, 32-year-old guy.
Yeah, Watt turns 31 in October, and he's slated to make $21.05 million in the last year of his deal. So that's half of what Myles Garrett is going to earn this year.
Yeah, and
I